But right now, let's get the head honcho of Top Rank onto the show. Very kindly giving up a bit of time. Over in the States, it'll be a Saturday afternoon. It is the one and only Mr. Bob Arum. Bob, welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
Good. Pleasure to be on.
Pleasure to have you with myself and Gareth. Bob, we'll start, of course, in the heavyweight division. And we'll start with your choice, Tyson Fury, and everything that's going on here in the UK. We're seeing the back and forth on social media with him and Anthony Joshua. What have you made of everything that's happened over the last 2 to 3 weeks? Because it seems, from a fan point of view, a lot of people are getting frustrated.
Well, they should be frustrated. Look, Frank and George Warren are our partners, and they're been, because the fight was to be in the UK, the leaders of our group, and I was informed that there was an agreement on how the revenue would be split. And then, of course, the problem came up. How could we reconcile the participation of all the networks like BT and DAZN and ESPN in the United States? And that problem was solved. Indeed, all of the broadcasters were very, very anxious for the fight to happen, and they were no problem making an arrangement. And then what happened was, because there are no issues that I can see, Eddie Hearn is stalling everything because he doesn't want the fight to happen. And why doesn't he want the fight to happen? Because Joshua's lost 3 out of his last 4 fights, and he figures to lose again if he fights Tyson Fury. And so Eddie is, in effect, being an impediment. I don't know of any issues. It's just he sends a draft, and then Frank and George reply, and then we don't hear from Eddie from days. He's stalling until it dies of its own volition. Now, I don't think Joshua is part of that. I think Joshua, for whatever reason, wants the fight to happen. I know Tyson Fury does, but Eddie doesn't. And so Eddie is doing whatever he can to prevent the fight from happening. I mean, it's as simple as that. And from Eddie's standpoint, is he believes he has a valuable asset in Joshua, who's now lost, as I said, 3 out of 4 fights and figures to lose again, which would make it 4 out of 5 and would be a lot less valuable to him after the event. So he's trying to prevent it from happening.
Do you think he'll be successful, Bob? Do you think that we won't get this
fight?
Well,
of course he's going to be successful because, you can't make a fight unless somebody agrees to the contract. And, you'd put him in a torture chamber and he still wouldn't agree to the contract. Now, there's no issues. You see, if there were some issues, then I could see it, but there are no issues. Get in the goddamn room with the Warrens, with Frank and George, and sit down and finalize the contract and let's get it signed. I don't blame Tyson Fury for getting upset at what is happening.
Bob, thank you very much for joining us this evening. And we kind of outlaid that on the top of the show tonight, that all the fingerprints point to what you're saying. Just because we haven't got too long, you told me even way back on that Thursday when Elizabeth II passed away, when we were at the press conference, obviously, and the women's fights went awry. Michaela Mayer and Elisa Baumgardner, who's on tonight with us, of course, and Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall, that you didn't think then it would get over the line. And instinctively, you were right then. But we haven't got long. And I just wanted to ask you about your guy, Shaka Stevenson, last week, because I know he failed to make weight by 1.3 pounds, I think it was, or 1.6 pounds, and it looks like he might need to move to lightweight. And we're not unhappy about that, by the way, because of Vasyl Lomachenko and Devin Haney and Tank Davis and all those guys. How good is he going to be at lightweight? And do you think he can go to number one pound for pound?
I really think Shakur Stevenson is a phenomenal fighter, one of the best around, and the problem that we have, it's not a problem, is we get these kids like Shakur when they're young and not developed, and in the course of promoting them, they get bigger. You know, you can't prevent these young men from getting taller and putting more muscle on as they mature. And that's what happened to Shakur. But I think Shakur is such a tremendous athlete and tremendous fighter, real talent. I think he'll do very, very well in a lightweight division that is really loaded with talent. Because in addition to Loma and Haney, we have Gervonta Davis and Ryan Garcia.
Yeah.
So there's so many good lightweights, and I think Shakur is competitive with any of them.
It's a very talent-rich division. We have to go to news shortly, Bob, but is Tyson Fury taking a risk, taking a fight in between meeting Alexander Usyk in February or March next year in the Middle East, Egis Klimas told us earlier tonight?
Yeah, well, of course he's taking a risk, but he's a risk taker, and he believes, with reason, that he beats any heavyweight out there, and just line him up for him, and don't keep him on the shelf, and let him keep fighting. That's his philosophy. Sure, there's a risk. When any fight you go in with a heavyweight, a big heavyweight that you're opposing, you're taking a risk. But Tyson is up to taking the risk. He's not going to sit on his ass and wait for the Usyk fight to happen, which won't be until the last week in February or the first week in March.
Enjoy the sunshine, Bob.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Good talking to you.